Happy Sunday! Welcome to Let's Talk About You, our season finale. I can't believe the time has come and season 4, this is it. It is just always an honor and a privilege to come and share with you. And today, I love all my shows, but this show is like tugging at my heartstring. Um, it's truly going to be a family affair. I have my two magnificent nephews, my first nephew, my second nephew, and I have my daughter. And we're going to have a great conversation talking about pursuing your passion, what they're doing to pursue theirs, what they're currently doing in their lives, what's next for them. And it should pique a spark in you. What's next for you? What it is that you want to do? What's your passion? What's your desire? And now, without further ado, I'm going to talk to my nephew, Jermaine Arthur. He's an architect, a signage designer. He's a project manager of Community Restore, and he is so much more. And I want him to come and tell you, our listening audience, about him. Jermaine, welcome to Let's Talk About You. I'm so happy to have him come on.
Yes. Nice to be
Wow.
here today, this morning. Happy Sunday. You know,
Happy
um,
Sunday.
yes.
How
Yes,
are you?
well, just another beautiful day. Just hanging out right now, and I'm in Orlando right now. Just just enjoying the weekend. A beautiful day. Can't complain too much.
Isn't technology wonderful? You're in Orlando hanging out. I'm here in St. Thomas, and we still can make time to do this show. Let's talk about you and encourage people to pursue their passions. So I know that you
Yes.
have done so much, and you've always been a creative soul, always been a creative mind from the beginning of time. And I want you to tell our listening audience and your voyage and your venture on where you where you began,
Yes.
what you've done, and what you're doing right now.
Well, for me, I'm a signage architecture designer, which I do, illuminated signage, monument structures. Also I do drawings for permits, for city zoning, building, electrical, and structural designing. I do for signage company, which I'm right now the art director of there at Kendall Signs. Which so I've been in the sign business about 20 years, and for me, well, I always been into art and drawing and stuff like that. So
Yes.
the architecture stuff came from when we used to travel to New Jersey, and then, when we used to go to New York and to the Eiffel, to the Twin Towers and stuff. And I always asked Robert, like, how did they build these bridges, and how did they build these, tall skyscrapers? So like I could always remember as a kid, like driving from New Jersey to New York, it's like it used to always the buildings and things used to always interest me. So by
Intrigued
the
you.
time I came to the States, I went to Kaiser University. I got my degree in computer science. And then I just say, man, I'm going to signage because I used to always be into arts and craft too. I always making medallions or making different handcraft stuff. So with the signage, which I always was amazed about signage too and structure. So I got into signage. So I started from an installer actually in 2004, 2005. And then I worked up to like production where, I learned about vinyl and actually making the sign. And then I did a little bit of manufacturing, which I learned how to do aluminum signs, meaning like structures and illuminated structures 10 feet by 20 feet, or building signs like for stadiums. One of my first big jobs I did was Bank of America Stadium here over there in Sunrise, Florida, for the Panthers. And
Right.
one letter was like 16 feet tall. So from then I just
Wow.
really got interested into the signage type of stuff. Yeah. So now
But
20 years now, I still do the structural designing, and it's pretty well.
well, even with the signage, some of the work that you've done artwork on vehicles, and I've seen that you won awards about that. Let's show some of the work that you've done with regards to making these vehicles totally blinged out. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
That's a 4G auto. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, with the car wrap thing was I learned about vinyl, right? But I don't know if you remember when I used to do body shop as a teenager over there in Nada when I used to paint cars. So I've been dabbling in a lot of anything to do with art. So I can remember back in 95, 96, we came out with a ice gold and green BMW. I don't know if you remember a
no, I didn't
BMW was
remember
a
that one.
regular. Yeah, so customizing cars from paint. But with vinyl, when they came up with this technology, I actually went to this company to learn how to do it on an expertise level where we started, wrapping like Bentleys and Ferraris, etc. And I was with this team for a couple of years, yeah. And we had this big 4G auto car show that happens every year. And we had
Yes.
a selection of vehicles that we had, and we killed it, yeah. So with the car wrapping thing is something that is a new savvy thing with which a lot of people are really into, especially if you like to customize your vehicles. So that's something that I always carry with myself as a trade, like I always do on the side because I could be doing graphic
It's
design.
called car. It's
You know,
called car wrapping.
car wrapping, yeah, vehicle wrapping. You could say vehicle because it could be a car, it could be a truck, it could be a boat. It could be anything. Any kind of vehicle or hard or heavy equipment. So with that being said, it's like with car wrap, I always took that up to like learn because you can't put all your eggs in one basket. So I took
True.
up car wrapping in that way, like graphic design. Yeah, is one thing, but now with a car wrap, it starts from like a wrap, like say a Toyota Corolla or a Toyota Camry, starting from like 35, 4,000, and make that in like 2 days.
Wow.
Compared to yeah, architectural design it pay good too, but you know, imagine
Yeah,
it's a
that's
huge
a fact.
difference.
So what
Yeah,
are those awards
for
called? The
instance,
awards that you won?
that Ferrari, we charge him like 12,000 to do that, and we
Wow.
wrap that car in 2 days. So that's to just show
Impressive.
the profit margin and this, the how important that skill is. So patience and technique.
Well, you definitely have the technique. And what are the awards for? What do you call those awards?
Well, for Forgiato, we won the one with the Ferrari. We won a trophy for that one because it was a new technology. With that one, that year, the year before, they came up with chrome wrap.
Yes.
But now this year here, we came up with the first technology where we actually got chrome and we could have print on the chrome. So that's why it has this look like it's chrome, but it have like this pastel, like these splashes on there because you couldn't do that first. Chrome, it was just wrapped chrome. But we showed them that we could have get the chrome, print on the chrome, and put a laminate and still wrap it. So we won a reward for new technology basically. And then the other award was for the orange truck because it was glow in the dark. Like if you turn the
Oh,
lights on, when
wow.
you put a blue light on it, it would glow. It's like neon. It would glow. And then we did like the what you call the thing that they stand on with the wheels. Them things I used to wear back in the day. What you call those things where you stand on
The
there?
hydraulics,
Whatever.
they go up.
Yeah, all the kids used to ride on these things like the skateboard thing with the two wheels. You stand on it, you got a balance on it. I forgot the name
Right.
for that
Okay, I
thing, but
got
yeah,
you.
we
Yeah,
we, we wrapped the whole package with the same wrap, and we won a trophy for that too. So that year was very special for me too because I kind of worked hard, especially in a Ferrari. Man, that was after I wrapped the Ferrari, you couldn't tell me anything. I could wrap anything. I would wrap it, anything for
well,
real.
it is absolutely gorgeous. And you, as I said, from the beginning of time, I've always known you to be so creative. And you've shared your creativity with others. You've done such great work with the car wrapping, your engineering, your architecture, and now you're bringing it to others, to community. And I'm an advocate of community work. I'm an advocate about giving back. And you decided, I'm going to give back. So tell us about Community Restore, how you got involved, and what is this initiative about?
Okay, well, with Community Restore is something, the founders, Esther Blyden and Shanika Allen, came up in 2015, where we kind of started from doing backpack drives with when Pressure used to do the free concerts back in St. Thomas. We started from them back in 2015. But yeah, 3 years ago, Miss Esther came up with this idea where, because all of us have our own business, Sign Genie, she do construction. a lot of us do a lot of different things. So we came back to the initiative like, look, we, especially with all the things was going on in St. Thomas with the kids, they took out shop classes, all the high school, all the different things. So we was like, you know what? How about we come not a summer camp where it's just like no fun again, but let's do something like a job core for the like a shop class again from 12 to 18 because that's the main important high school age because my age for me coming up from 12 to 18 that's the most important part where you got to try to at least expose the children these teenagers to something that they might be like, wow, and just to show them because, like I said, if I didn't go and do certain things, I would have never have access to these type of resources to know. I didn't know I was ever going to be a graphic designer. I never know I would have been ever be wrapping
And
cards
you
or anything
always,
like that.
and you're right, because where you begin isn't necessarily where you end, but you always have the interest of doodling and drawing and sketching on everything.
Yeah, and everything. But with the computer,
Even
like I tell them on the radio station, and the other thing that I've been on is like Neville Champy. When Champy had that computer class of this skills center back in early 2000s, right? I went to his class, and that's why I create my first Yahoo. You know what I mean? After 2002 at yahoo.com. My first time actually like setting up an email and stuff, and Champy was the one who would teach me about Microsoft Word, and that's what about apps and about how the computer work and user friendly or not, whatever the case may be. That by the time I went to the States now, and I got into the Kaiser University, I was kind of already familiar with using a computer, because in St. Thomas, unless you having a business or you in the government or something, you wouldn't have access back then. In the early 2000s, you wouldn't really have access to even buy a laptop. 'Cause, back then a laptop was like $1,500. Like it was thousands of bucks for a laptop. So you couldn't afford a laptop or a desktop. Jamila had one, but like I said, just to learn how to do computer science was very interested.
Well, I am so glad that
Very
you
much
were
so. Yes, it
everything
was.
that
So
everything that you were taught, everything that you were exposed to, you held on to it. You didn't take it for granted, and you wanted to learn more. You yearned and you desired to have more and more and more. And with a community restore, it's good that you guys take your careers where you at and expose these young students, these young people, these individuals to there's a world so beyond what you're doing now, and they may be architects, they may be the next governor, president, the next whatever, and we need construction workers and plumbers and everything that you're doing, and the fact that they can use it with just with their hands and along with modern technology, and that's what I see that you're doing. You're taking
yeah, not
technology.
only not only and not only construction and hands-on stuff, but like we still do the photography. Next year, what we're trying to do, like we had this one young lady that came there with two iPads. So I'm like, "Damn, what you got with two iPads?" She want to learn how to do apps. So like next year now we're gonna have somebody, try to bring somebody that could be into more app development. Because for me, I'm a graphic designer, yeah, but app development is like a different kind of sector with codes and stuff. So and then even like how my son Jeremiah graduated was electrical engineer. He has a 3D machine. So maybe next year I could have him come and teach the kids them about electrical engineer because this year we had Whopper came in and Whopper actually came in with their own electrical engineering, which he's running Whopper. He's a young dude with braids in hair. I was like, damn, that could be like Jeremiah too running our power station like Whopper. So him himself will come back and teach these kids these different things. So anybody that have a knowledge or picked up a skill or picked up any kind of education, like even like Lamar or Tiana, what could teach these kids about like we have photography, we have drones. Next year we had some movie producers down there this year, and we were supposed to go over there and meet with them because they try to they're filming this movie right now actually in high school, and they try to get like props and different people to come and be like fill-ins and stuff like that. So people like Lamar and could always do big works when it comes to the film and the producer like Marcus. He have his own vlogs and they do movies, they do a lot of clips and stuff down there in St. Thomas. They're really good at it. So with
Right.
producers like Lamar and like educators like myself who could teach these kids access, you want to be an actor, you want to be a, you want to be behind the cinematographer, being behind the camera, or if you want to be the person just an extra, or you have so much different casts. Like when you read the movies, they have all these at the end, they have the credits. You
Yes.
could be any of
You
those.
see your
You could be
name.
any
Yes.
of those people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And make, yeah, they don't stop and watch it, but I say watch them credits. You see how much jobs there is? There's a lot of jobs. That's what you see in there, jobs. So all these things go into cooperation with anyone that has these knowledge or have the tools or the resources to expose these kids to a bigger level. That's what we need to do, because the might come and show them like Oprah or something. They get hype. They'll be interested, or show them people like
They
these
will.
people
They
think
so will.
because them young people, how it is that you gotta give them something to grasp. And when they see something like that, it's like, oh, they're more interested. They get into it, and then you show them, well, okay, it's hard work. You gotta do this, and then you'll be able to meet a woman like Oprah. You know what I'm
And,
saying? So like,
and I'm glad that you mentioned the part that you have to give kids something to excite them, because I
yeah,
remember you always needed something to excite you, and to see where
yeah,
you are today. I'm so proud of everything that you're doing, because
yeah,
you were always tangible. You needed something hands on. You won't just
yeah,
take it for and just give you anything and say, Jermaine, go in the corner and be quiet. You always needed to be excited.
yeah.
And you're using that desire and that yearn to where you
So
were. And now
yeah,
you're doing so many things, and then you're coming and you're giving back.
and then
That
giving
is
back.
phenomenal, because giving back is priceless. Your time, we can never truly repay you for your time and your knowledge, because you paid for that. You went to college for that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that is already a price on what it is that you have. And the fact
yeah.
that you're bringing it back to home, because you live in Florida now and you're
Yeah,
coming home.
all of us. Hey, most of us. You know what I mean? Like most of us live, not most of us, but half of the team live abroad, like in Georgia, Atlanta, live, in Florida. Which soon I probably go back home and try to bring up the initiative, because it's not only the education, but my history where when you're dealing with adolescents, because what I've learned that when we have the camp, I had to like sometimes you have to like tell the kids like hold up, and I had to give them a speech like this. I ain't come here and no bouginess. This is a free camp. Most of this thing we have sponsors, but most of this thing coming out of our pocket. One, and then two, we try teach our skills that if you are go somewhere else, they're gonna be charging your parents hundreds of dollars a week to come around here. We giving our free breakfast, free lunch, free education, free gyms. So yeah, I need to listen, because I ain't coming here no Gucci like no thing with party. Like I tell them I come from in the I been there and done that with many things. So when I talk to her, try to talk to y'all like I try to come over. I been there in different things where no, I try to show y'all once you do these good things in the world and you find your way and you find yourself, you'll be able to come back and do the same thing. No matter where you come from. So we try to give everybody opportunity. We had people who even Indians, we had, people from, different demographics that came to our camp and learnned a lot, and they everybody went home happy and proud and
Yes.
learned
So
something
how
and
can you
learned
be?
something.
So do you have to wait for the summer to be a part of Community Restore? Is it just for the summer
Well,
we have
coming
to wait for a flyer, or is there something that we can look forward to
well, for us, this is the third annual one, and like I said, we just came up with this initiative as a group of ourselves. So everything we try to plan 6 months or plus in advance, and yes, we reach out to different people, of course, to help us with sponsorship. Our first 2 years was in St. Croix, so of course, we have to reach out to try to get sponsorship, but we always try to make it happen. So if we got to come out of our own pocket to make it happen, we make it
So tell
happen.
our listening audience, give them a telephone number, a name, point of contact. So if they're interested in donating or giving time, just say a name or a number, or we can link you on Facebook or what social media, or one of the founding members. So the members that are listening right now could be a part of Community Restore, because this is an excellent initiative.
Yes, yes. When I give the info before I leave, but I would just like to say that yes, for the summer is something that we would like to do every summer, and actually, if we could embed this thing during the school year with any resources that's down there where we could bring back something similar like the shop classes. That was so important. So if we
Yes,
could always connect with any veterans or any retirees or anyone that's out there that could invest their time to do a yearly thing. Even if we have grants or you get the groups or the government, like I always tell them, we have too much different things to go on when it comes to those things. But I feel that it shouldn't when it comes to these type of stuff. So, we're always willing to group up with whoever have the powers to be, or, if you could get grants or whatever you may call it from the government department, whatever department, in that way, we could make it a year-long thing. And then the summer, always, because summertime, they idle. They don't have nothing to do,
true.
so
I think
summertime, so
so. How long is the camp for the summer? Because I mean, even though I agree that they have stuff going on during the school year, but how long is the summer camp?
well, the summer camp, we have the summer camp for 1 week, because like I said, it all goes back to funding.
Right.
If we could have come up with more funding, we do 2 weeks, we do 4 weeks, depends on how the group come collectively and try to make it happen. But most of it is just off of funds, and a week is something that we, is good enough for us to balance, wherever we might be getting from sponsorship and
Right.
whatever we
And
working
the
with
fact that you
ourselves.
guys have to fly in from your
We
traveling.
traveling, and like we take work out, we invest our own, we take time off of work, come down there, try to make it happen, and just like I said, spread these gems to the kids and just let them to know that they could be somebody out here, no matter where
Well,
you're
I
from.
think
Like,
that's an excellent initiative, and I hope our listening audience is listening. So, as you listen, audience, reach out so you can be a part of Community Restore, where they come and teach the kids life skills, career awareness. There's so many great things that they used to teach in shop classes. Now they're trying to do it in 1 week. So, sponsors, businesses,
yeah,
if you would like to be a part of Community Restore, send us a message there. Message us and
oh,
let's talk about you. And we
yeah,
definitely will contact the powers that be. Jermaine, don't go anywhere. I want to go on to my second guest. And then at the end, we're all going to come together and have a powwow. So stay on, don't
one,
move.
one sec, one,
And
1 second, just info@communityrestore.org.
okay,
Info
so
at
info at community
communityrestore.org.
restore that is the email, the email address. If you have
Email
any
contact.
questions, if you want to be a sponsor, please do info at communityrestore.org. So Jermaine,
Thank
don't
you.
go anywhere. If you have more information, more contact, we will speak about it closer to the end. Our second guest is, um, oh my goodness, she is my navel string, literally my heartbeat, my daughter, Kiana Francis Burkett. She's currently a producer at ABC News, and so many great things that we want to talk about. Her beginning, where she went to school, and I'm just gonna bring her on. Kiana, girl, come out here.
Hi, hello. I just want to clarify before we go forward. I am a producer at an ABC News affiliate in Boston, not the main ABC News. I'm at an ABC News affiliate in Boston called WCVB, if anyone wants to look it up. But yeah, I'm in charge of doing the eye opener show or the morning show. I do the 5 o'clock and the 6 o'clock half hours.
Great. Well, before you tell us more about the affiliate, I want you to tell us about your journey on deciding to become a journalist. What did you study in school? I know, but our listening audience need to know.
Okay. Well, the journey, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in college, it's high school, in 11th grade, you don't know what to do. But I've always been interested in writing and in storytelling. Um, so, passions sometimes change. When I was really younger, for years, you may remember I wanted to be an astronomer for a very, very long time. And then at one point in high school, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I was just really trying to dig deep and figure out, what it is that I like to do. One, And what is it that I'm good at too? What are these two things that I can sort of join together and come up with a career? So then I started doing research, and journalism interested me. So when I was doing my college search, I found a really great journalism school, Emerson College. Fortunately, I got accepted. I went to school. I graduated with a degree in journalism and a minor in political communications. Um, and the school, I think, has really set a great foundation. Again, I already enjoyed writing. I'm already kind of nosy, so I be in people's business sometimes. um, um, so I was like, this is the perfect thing. But going to the actual school itself, learning the technicalities. One thing that I liked the most about it, I think, is learning different aspects of journalism, because I went in there thinking that I was going to be a print journalist, work for newspaper. I even did an internship at the Daily News after my freshman year. And I really did enjoy it. But I wanted to try something else. And the way that my school is set up is that you have to learn every sort of mode of journalism. You have to learn print, you have to learn multimedia, you have to learn broadcast. And for broadcast, you have to learn how to be a producer, and you have to learn how to be an anchor/reporter. And I think doing that was the perfect setup for me, because it got me thinking about, what I actually enjoy. And that might not be what I thought I would enjoy. Or even if I did that, what would I like more? So I joined an organization on campus when I was still deciding. I was in between, what path of journalism I would take. And it wasn't a news organization, but it was a broadcast television organization. And I worked as an associate producer. And it was so fun working behind the scenes and sort of coming up with the concept for the show and doing all of that. And I was like, I think I want to do broadcast now. So it was a little bit late when I made that decision, but I was able to work with my academic advisor. I had great professors who were able to, help me out and sort of steer me in the right direction. And that's how I ended up doing broadcast television. And I knew I did not want to be on TV because we had to learn how to do it. And it's just not for me, and that's okay. But I really, really enjoyed the production part of it, even when it did come to news. So that's sort of something that I focused in. And my professor, who was in my capstone course, she loved producers because she was like, there's such a need for producers, and there's not much people who want to be a producer. I'm so happy you want to be a producer. So she was really there to help guide me through that. So that was a huge, huge help. And she helped me get my first job in the industry after graduation. So that's sort of been my journey through journalism, I guess.
So how long after graduation did it take you to find your first job?
I was a little concerned because I was in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna have a job as soon as I graduate. It's gonna be great. I did not, but it didn't take that long. I think I graduated in May and I started work in July. I know.
That is not long at all.
I know, but in my head, I was like, I'm gonna have a job as soon as I graduate. So
that is as soon as you graduate.
No, but I meant like on graduation day, I will already know what I'm doing, And it didn't happen like that. But it all worked out. I got a job as an associate producer at a news station in Rhode Island. And I worked there. And then a couple months later, the pandemic hit. So that was a big change, big adjustment, especially my first big girl job. But through that and through shifts and movement that happened because of the pandemic, I started, instead of associate producing, I was moved to produce the weekend morning show for about a year and a half, maybe. So the weekend morning show, it was a several hour long programs that I would produce. And, the team was small, as in anyone who works in local news will know. The morning team, especially the weekend morning team, is always small, but very, very resourceful. And I may not have appreciated it then because I was tired. But I really learned a lot through that, being able to tell a story in different ways despite not having a giant team. And when the team was so small, we were able to work very, very closely together and be able to bounce ideas off of each other in ways that may not have been possible if the team were bigger. And it sort of makes you, think.
I'm just here just glowing and just saying, I need to ask a question. So I'm gonna ask a question. So you talked about the pandemic, being a
Yes.
young journalist or just getting your feet in there in the door and working, and then something so impactful as the pandemic happening. How did that affect or impact you in any way and what you were doing, since we on the outside were depending on you, the news, to let us know what's going on? Is it here? Is it there? Is it going to happen?
Mhm.
Is it not going to happen? What's going on? What was that like for you?
I think it was scary for everybody, and that includes people in news. Because while this was happening, there was a bunch of shutdowns happening. A couple months later, there was a rise in protests happening at the same time that we were sort of dealing with this pandemic. So it was difficult for us too, because with everything closing, we were still working, whether we were working in the building or remotely. I would happen to be in the building. We still had to come into work. We had to get special documents when it was shut down, so just in case we were pulled over on the road, since we weren't supposed to be outside, we would have something to say that we're an essential worker and we could work. um, and then at one point in the pandemic, sort of combating misinformation. When something like this happens, it's very early on, and people are very scared, and people were dying, and it was spreading quickly, and no one knew what was going on. And someone in the station got it very, very early on. So that was really scary, because it's like, there's a coworker, we don't know anything about this thing. It was just very, very a terrifying experience, just like it was with everyone else. But with the added um, stress, I guess, of, we need to make sure that the information that we're giving people is correct, because it changed so quickly, and the
Yes.
developments came in so quickly that sometimes one day it was one thing, and then someone was like, well, actually, now that we've looked at X, Y, and Z, we thought it was this, but it's actually that. And I think a lot of times when you see someone change their mind, or appear to change their mind on television, it's like, well, what's true? Are you lying to us? Things like that. There's a distrust that happens. And I think that one of the hardest things was trying to, assure people that we are right here with you, and make sure that we're giving you the developments, not because what we said before was incorrect, but because we're getting new information, and because we have new information, then that changes how things work. And so we were dealing with that. And then, as I mentioned, when all the protests over George Floyd's killing was happening at the same time, it was just a very, very intense time to be a part of the media, because we report stories. Not everyone likes them. You get calls, you get emails. It's just a part of the job. It is what it is. But it was just everyone's emotions were very, very heightened at that time. So it was a stressful experience being working in that time, especially in journalism and in TV news. But it was comforting to know that it wasn't just me. I wasn't the only one that was feeling this way. I wasn't the only one that was going through this. There's a community of people who are right next to me who are going through the exact same thing. And we have the same goal, is to inform people of what is going on in their neighborhood, is to let people know how they can stay safe. What we know from the doctors, the changes that are happening. And sometimes it's hard to balance that, because at some point you're just like, I need to sit down. I need to be myself. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do anything right now.
So did you have a
Because
support system at work, or a support system to help you as you went through?
I did. There are a few coworkers that I was close to at the time, and I'm still close to some of them. One in particular, well, two in particular, actually. So they were really sort of my support system, who I knew that I could go to and be like, listen, I know that we're feeling this way right now, and I need help. I need someone to talk to. I need something, because this is a very, very, very stressful experience. We weren't getting any sleep. We were working 10 days in a row, 12-hour days. But I think that, all in all, we did what we're supposed to do as journalists. And at least I'm proud of the work that I and the team that I've worked with on the shows that I've done were able to do in that time, because no one was certain. We also had family affected by the pandemic, which I feel like a lot of people think of people who work in news as like other and who don't experience the same things that you do. But, we know people who had COVID early on. We know people who died of COVID early on. So it was nice to have people in your corner, but it was also a pretty tough time. But at the end of the day, I am proud of the work that at least I was able to do.
Well, I saw the coverage, and yes, I made an effort to watch and support from the Virgin Islands on media. So I know that it was a hard time for everybody, at least from here. And I truly depended on what I heard from your news media so I could know what was going on. Not because it was just you giving the news, but I know that you got some information before we got it here locally. So thank you for that, because I know it was around the clock, constant. What's next? What's going on? What's the new word? What's the new word? What's the new word? And I would like to just put a little snippet in there that I know when you put your anchors to do their portion, it was always a positive message at the end to make the audience feel a little better. So that those little words of encouragement that you made an effort to put in at the end of every show, that made a difference.
Yeah.
So I will say that. So
we
that's
tried.
when you were.
Go ahead.
I was like, I know that that was at NBC, but now you're at ABC, an affiliate.
Yes.
So go ahead.
The other one was an NBC affiliate as well, not the national NBC. Just need to make that clear. Anyways, go ahead.
So tell us now, and how long, great things has happened to you from waiting a long 2 months after graduation to get your first job.
Okay.
And then, having the opportunity. So how long were you at NBC?
I was there from July 2019 to November 2021. It's like 2.5 years.
Okay. And now you're at ABC. So at ABC, now that you're in there and you got your feet wet, and then you're doing your work and you're writing these stories, and then what?
Well, it was a different experience because, local news there's different local news markets. There's like 200 and something of them. And I made a pretty big jump from working in Rhode Island to working where I work now in Boston. And although it's not like physically a big jump in terms of a news market, it is. So I think the biggest change for me, the biggest shift for me, it was like, I have so many resources. There's so many people here that I can, work with. I think the baseline has stayed the same as we're reporting the facts. We need to let people know what's happening in whatever sense that may be: health, crime, things happening in the community, all of that. That has stayed the same, and that probably will stay the same across, wherever you go. But I think the biggest change was, it's a bigger city, so there is more happening. It's a bigger station. It's proud to say it's the #1 news station in the Boston market.
Congratulations.
So it was just and there's just great people working at the station. I'm not saying there weren't great people at the last one, but the teams here, because I've worked at every shift in this current station that I'm working at. That's not exaggerating. I have worked every shift, and each one of them, the team is so amazing in what they do. They're so good at what they do. It definitely gives you something to look up to. You see someone do something with a graphic that you've never seen before, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't even know you could do that. And then they're very much willing to help teach you how to do X, Y, and Z. And then in return, when you learn something, then they're not afraid to ask, oh, hey, I didn't know that you can do that. Can you teach me? Because I think that sometimes people think, if you've been in this industry for a long time, you run into people who have been here for longer, so they're not willing to ask younger people or newer people for help. But that has, for the most part, not really been my experience here. It's been a very much give and take type experience, which is why I think that the work that we do is so well put together. And I think it's a reason that, people receive it so well, is because, we're not afraid to work with each other because we understand that we're all here for the same common goal. It definitely does help to have, a bigger team. It definitely does help to have, we live in a bigger city where more things are going on. But I just, really the team of people, I think, is what stood out to me when I first started working there.
And having a supportive team and an impactful team helps push out what it is that you're trying to birth and help with what your desires and your passions are as well. And as you produced and pushed out your passions and heightened that, how long did it take for you to be nominated? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so I was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards for the Boston, New England chapter for 2 different newscasts that I did. I have the booklet right here for proof.
Well, we have the booklet too. We want to show the booklet. We have the booklet too.
I was just showing. So it was honestly, I knew that the Boston, New England Emmy Awards were a thing. I just never really thought about it for me. Not saying that I wasn't good enough or anything like that. It's just never something that really crossed my mind. I was just doing the work that I knew to do. And it was about, I don't even remember when it came out because we have to make submissions, and then if the submissions are accepted, then we're nominated. I don't remember the exact time that the submissions or the nominations came out, but it was early this year, I believe. And I've been working at the current station since late 2021. And the 2 stories that I was nominated for, one of them happened in September of 2022. And the other one, I believe, happened in March of 2022. So I was working there for less than a year for both of the stories that were nominated, which I'm incredibly happy with and I'm proud of.
Congratulations. That's a big deal.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
But like I said, it was never something that I really thought about, and there were definitely stories that I'm proud of the way that it came across on screen, because they were tragic stories as they were incredibly important stories. And there were stories that we've been either that we broke or that had been happening for a while and we're breaking developments. And I think with stories like, I think we're going to see one in a couple minutes. It's sometimes hard as a journalist to balance between, especially with a very, very sensitive case, to balance between telling the public things that they need to know, and being considerate to the families of the people affected, and making sure that the work that you put out is not, it doesn't come across sort of as like disrespectful or insensitive, but it comes across as, this is something that, we have to tell you. This is something that, we've been following for a while. The community has been very, very invested into it. And we just want to make sure that we pay respect to the victim, and also get across how big this story is and how impactful it is. Because what we're about to see soon was a really, really sad case that we were following for a while about this little girl who had gone missing and was reported about a year after she went missing. And then, they declared her search case investigation into a homicide investigation. So it was very, very sad. It was very, very devastating story. But I'm proud of the work that our station did, because, through our reporting and the things that came out of that, it was actual tangible change. We saw changes to the DCF system. We saw, not just in New Hampshire where it happened, but people officials talking in Massachusetts as well. We saw actual things happen, actual progress being made because of the work that not just me, but everyone at the station did, producers, reporters, directors, the news managers. And I think that is probably why it was nominated, is because it was just the culmination of so many things that have happened over the past couple months before that, and the change that was seen outside of journalism, off of television, in the systems that were involved in these stories.
Let's take a look and see, and then we'll come back. Let's take a look at the ones that you were nominated for.
Just a devastating development surrounding Harmony Montgomery. New Hampshire's investigators now believe that the girl was murdered back in 2019. They admit that this is not the update that anyone was hoping for, but they say that they have not given up on the effort to bring Harmony home.
Harmony is a sweet and innocent child who deserved to be brought home to her family and friends.
Just an absolutely heartbreaking situation. Hello, everybody joining us in Marinos.
And I'm Ben Simino. Ed's off tonight. News Center 5's Ted Wayman's been in New Hampshire all day following the updates. He begins our breaking coverage from the Capitol in Concord. Ted.
Ben, for 8, this has been a search investigation. Now it is a murder investigation for a little girl who's become a household name here in New Hampshire.
I'm beyond saddened that we stand here.
Authorities told
So that was just the opening, the first, I would say, 50-ish seconds of the 6 o'clock newscast for that day. It's the case for Harmony Montgomery. As we heard a little bit, like I said before, her search mission had turned into a homicide investigation. And I thought personally, it was very important for me to include I forget if he was the police chief in New Hampshire, but it was very, very important for me to include his sound because, usually police officers are very, these are the facts, da happened, we're investigating this. But, this was a case that had touched a lot of people, and he choked up.
Yes, he was so emotional because he got me emotional when I saw that. Yeah,
that we still want to bring Harmony home, even though they believe that she has passed. They're still not giving up the efforts. I wanted to make that obvious visually with the graphics in our studio, because again, we have a great system, a great team of people who know how to do, make ideas come to life like that. But I also, like I said, the balance between telling a story and humanizing a story, I really wanted to humanize it. And I thought that, that emotional sound from the chief, I believe, was a very, very important.
Humanized it, yes.
And,
so
I think that to me set the tone for the rest of the show, because that was just 50-ish seconds of a 30-minute newscast. And I think that really set
and when
the
you
tone
talk
for
about
what
the 50 seconds, that little 50 seconds, like you said, it did set the tone. Timing is important with what you're doing, because what I may think is a minute or 50 seconds or 30 seconds, that's a lifetime for you.
Yes, timing is everything in broadcasting. It's everything. Because you can't, finish a show late. You're gonna either go into another programming, or depending on the station that you're in, just like fall off the air in the middle of your sentence, which does not look good. And then if you're not one of those stations who just fall off the air, then you cut into someone else's show, and then they start halfway in, which also does not look good for them. So you're not just doing it for yourself and for your show, you're also being considerate of the other shows and the other commercials and stuff that people have already put in place there. So yeah, and I feel like a lot of people don't really realize that a lot of the stories that they're seeing are 25 to 45 seconds long. That's it.
But those are so impactful. So you actually grasp the importance of that short time. So tell us about the other story, because I want to know what you were thinking of when you were in the room with all the other journalists and anchors and producers. What did that mean like to you when you went to the gala and you sat amongst everyone, people that you looked up to, thought about?
I thought it was very interesting. You know how sometimes you have a little bit of like imposter syndrome? That's sort of how it felt. I'm like, these people have been in the industry, a lot of them for so long, and they're doing and something that I liked about it is that it wasn't just hard news. It was also fun things that were happening. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you had that picture. So it was really nice to see not just people from my station, but from people all across New England, because this award show covered all of New England, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. And just seeing how, it's a room full of people from different areas in New England, but we, again, all have the same goal. Even if you're not in hard news, your goal is still to tell whatever story it is that you have, is to tell it in a way that, gets all the information out there, but also in a way that makes people want to watch, because it's broadcast. You're going to have people need to watch. So it was just a cool experience. I was like, I got to dress up, I got to see, different people, I got to see little snippets of their work. It was sort of a surreal experience is the only way that I can describe. I got my makeup done. That was exciting. So it was a very, very surreal experience, to be among all those people, some that I knew, some that I didn't know. And to really see that, all of these people whose work has, impacted change, whether it's with this story or whether it's with something else, because we're not the only station reporting the stories that are happening. Everyone at every station is working incredibly hard, to make sure that the work that they do is the best of the best. And the fact that I got to be in the room with the best of the best was very, very humbling experience for me. And I very rarely think about it, but when I do, I'm just like, what is how? I don't get it. But it was really cool. It was really cool to be there.
So what would you like to tell young Kiana about this experience?
You know, it's all going to work out. Opportunities are going to come, whether you think they will or not. I wasn't expecting this opportunity to come to me at all. There's someone who actually worked at my last station who was like, Kiana, I think that the work that you do is really, really great. I know that this station in Boston is hiring, and you should put in your application. And I was like, I guess I'll do it, but I genuinely, I didn't think that I would get it. But I got the interview, and then, we went to stage 2 to meet in person, and I got the job. And I think that this is where I was supposed to be at that moment, or at this moment, because I've learned so much. I've met so many people. I've been able to accomplish. I think I've only been here for a year and a half, well, almost 2 years actually. And I feel like I've been able to accomplish and to learn so much in that time. I just would say to just trust where you are. If people see something in you, even if you don't see it in yourself, don't doubt them. I think that is probably the biggest thing for me, is that sometimes then, and even now, every once in a while, someone would say something about me or see something in me that I don't see myself. And I'm like, no, stop. But believe them, even if you are not experiencing that for yourself, or even if you don't believe it's true, if someone sees potential in you, they see talent in you, they see drive in you, feed into that. If it's positive, not if it's negative, obviously. Feed into that, because a lot of times, when you're in something, the only thing that you can see is what's like right in front of you, and not everything else around you. So I would just tell her to be more present, and to believe people when they say that you're good at what you do.
Well, I mean, I can talk more, but I have one more guest, but I don't want you to go anywhere, because I do want to circle back around and see the other show before we close out, that you did. But I am proud of you. I want to say congratulations, and I am glad the advice that you give younger Kiana. When people give you a compliment, believe them, even if you may not believe it yourself, and that will give you the help you see your purpose and see that you're on the right track, that you're going where you need to go.
Yes, mother.
Yes, daughter. But we're not doing the mother daughter thing. This is an interview. and it is just but it was definitely a heartwarming situation for me that my daughter that just started a job and within less than a year was nominated not for one but two Emmys. Actually, it was three, but it was narrowed down to two Emmys. I mean, 3 Emmys. Are you kidding me? And I will get into a little later as to why we didn't want to tell the world about why it was under hush hush, but the importance of that, and also being open to sharing your, because sharing your wins help is not only so much so we're not being bragging or haughty. It actually can inspire someone else, especially coming from a small community. Okay. So don't go anywhere. I want to see you on. I have so much to talk to you and Jermaine about, but I need to bring on Lamar, my other nephew, my Tony nominated, the actor, the producer. This is truly a family affair, and I am so excited to be bringing it on here. And let's talk about you at our end of season 4. This is the best celebration for me. And let's talk about you to have my family, my phenomenal beings that's connected to me. I mean, oh Lord, thank you, Lord. I am humbled here today. Lamar, come on out, Lamar Richardson. Lamar. My tissue is going to be soaked by the time I'm finished here today. I am so excited. Hi, Lamar.
Hi.
Welcome to Let's Talk About You. And I am so excited to talk about you.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. This is the second time that you're here on Let's Talk About You. And I'm so glad that you never tell me no. And even if you want to, I'm glad you don't.
Never.
So for those of my listening audience that don't know who Lamar Richardson is, other than my nephew, tell our listening audience about Lamar Richardson, where you started and where you are now, because I have so much to say. I have lots to share. So let's get into it.
I'm an actor and a producer. And, it's just such an honor to be here. Fresh off the Tony nomination. It's just been an amazing journey that started over a decade ago at this point. And it's just really amazing to see how much has been accomplished, through all the struggles and the highs and the lows and the big, long waiting game that it's been. I went to Columbia University, and during my junior year, I decided to take a chance on myself and to pivot and to jump headfirst into pursuing a career in the arts. And, ever since then, it's just been a big, long roller coaster. And it's really just amazing to see what's been birthed from it.
Oh, well, I'm so glad that you use the phrase jump, because that's an inside joke between you, Kiana, and I about jumping.
Yes.
Jumping off that cliff.
Yes.
Well, I am so glad that you did it. And when you talk about pivoting, so many times that we have an agenda in our minds. This is what we need to do. This is what needs to get done. So tell us about pivoting, why that was important for you.
Yeah, so at the time, I was on a pre-business track. I had done an internship at MetLife my sophomore summer in the sales department, and then I was geared up to go work at Barclays Investment Bank my junior summer after an operations and finance boot camp. And during my MetLife internship, one of the team members said, "What are you doing working in insurance? With all that personality, shouldn't you be in entertainment?" And at the time, I remember being offended and saying, "What's that supposed to mean?" I can be here. But then, it planted that seed that I then went on to explore later on. And, it was just a thing where I was doing theater on campus with the Black Theater Ensemble. I was really finding myself to be fulfilled, really getting into my artistic expression. And I had always been a performer, as a hobby of sorts through church plays and things in the community, but it was never let me do this as a career. But in that moment, I just said, hey, I'm in New York City. I'm young. Let me just try it. What's the worst that can happen aside from, potentially failing? But even then, it's not failing because I learned a lesson. So I just literally got those first set of headshots, jumped on background set, working on Boardwalk Empire, and the rest has been history.
Well, I just love it because you started with doing commercials, and tell me if I'm getting the sequence correct or not. So I remember you doing AT&T commercials
Yeah.
with the watches and something with the feet. So I
Yeah.
would always say, "That's my nephew's hand. That's my nephew's feet." And then the next sequence, you started doing TV drama. You did Blue Bloods, and you did tell us about it.
Yeah, so it's funny. So okay, so the hand modeling career started when I went in for an on-camera Samsung commercial, and they said, "Oh, you have really nice hands." That led to a 4-month long job of reoccurring commercials, all based on phones and hands, and that started my hand modeling career. That has been its own separate thing alongside over the years. Then I got into film, TV. I used to do a lot of investigation series, over my dead body, investigation discovery shows on, history detectives, things like that. Then I got into Blue Bloods, FBI, New Amsterdam, more of the network television procedurals. And then theater, I was always doing theater. And then Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was my first big show, after Felicia Rashad.
Yes, let's talk about Ma Rainey's Big Bottom. Let's talk about that. Let us talk about that.
Yeah. So
And I was so excited that my nephew is doing Broadway. Wait, what?
So at the time I was, working at a studio, and Felicia Rashad was coming to be a part of a screenplay reading that we were having for a new film. And it was basically about a group of kids at a halfway house, and a Harvard educated law student was coming to volunteer and do his work there. I was supposed to be the lead kid in that camp. And then at the last minute, I got recast into a significantly smaller role. And I was devastated because, I wanted to be the lead and have Felicia see me act and, have all these great scenes. But it was fascinating because I got cut down to a significantly smaller role. And it was through what she saw in those short scenes that she was then able to offer me this job without me even auditioning.
So Felicia Rashad, where you were hooking hands with, she saw everything with 2 little lines. So,
Yeah.
little is much when God is in it. That's not a myth. It's a fact.
Yeah. And yeah. And ever since then, it's just always been, she's like my fairy godmother. I spoke to her 2 days ago. I'm forever indebted to her. Like Kiana said, she saw something in me at a time when I didn't even see it in myself, and literally pulled me out of that studio, took me across the country to LA, and put me on that stage with industry veterans.
Oh, and you've definitely met some industry veterans. I know that I've pulled down a plethora of pictures of people that I know and I admire this person as that person. So when you I mean, you just Danny Glover and Lynn Whitley and Alfie. I mean, these are just great people that I've seen from the beginning of time. And I remember as a little girl, I did not like Danny Glover. I hated him. And I hated him because he was an excellent actor. The first time I saw him was in The Color Purple, and what he did to Celie, that actually impacted me for a long time. So when I saw him in other shows with Mel Gibson, where he acted, I lost the show right now, where he acted with Mel Gibson, and I was like, yeah, he's doing a good job, but he's not a nice person. And it was not him. It was his character was just so phenomenal. I just held a grudge against character.
That's a good actor. That's a good actor.
Yes. And you two are an excellent actor because they're seeing you. And what, one thing that I always loved about you is your humility. It's never been, it's about me. It's always about, it's about what's going on around you, and you just happen to be there.
Right.
You always try to take the attention off of you. So, and it's always about what's around you. So I know in this picture that we're seeing right now, because I know some people are watching or listening to us and not, they're watching us on YouTube as well. This your cast from Ma Rainey. Tell us about your first Broadway show.
Yeah, so okay. So Lillias White was Ma Rainey, and Lillias White is an icon. She has done it all. She's done Dreamgirls, The Life, Fela, Once on This Island. I mean, she's a legend in the Broadway community. So literally to be alongside her playing Sylvester, her nephew, was just an amazing experience, and we've been super close ever since. Jason Dearden was in the cast, who's another wonderful actor. Damon Gupton, Keith David, Glenn Turman. These are all iconic figures in our community. Glenn Turman was the first Travis in A Raisin in the Sun on Broadway when he was, I believe, 12 years old. So, this is literal Broadway history. And, down on the right, Malcolm Jamal Warner. I mean, it's just, again, Theo on The Cosby Show. It's just surreal.
Yeah, my Theo crush. Did you tell him what your auntie said he had a crush? No, okay, never mind.
Yeah, but it's just surreal to have, worked alongside all of these people who you've respected and admired for so long, and to now be a quote unquote peer alongside them is just really a humbling experience.
Yes, and it's humbling for me too, because as I said, you definitely took your career, you held it by the horns, and you're just so open to learn, and you have such an infectious personality. People do want you to come with them and learn the ropes and be taught. I remember when Kiana came to see your first play, and she told me that she would meet you, but she was going to wait outside until you got home because Oprah had you reading something and that you had to meet with Oprah first. I was like, well, I would definitely put you on hold for Oprah.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, insane. I mean, years ago at that same studio that I started at where I met Felicia, Oprah was working with my boss at the time on a project, and that's where we first met in 2015. And we've kept in touch over the years. And I mean, that was at her house in 2017, where she had her Super Soul Sunday Gospel Brunch, which was phenomenal. I mean, that was a whole thing. I mean, it was a who's who of everyone there. And this was literally in her backyard. So, I'm forever grateful for her kindness and graciousness towards me over the years, for sure. And, it's a respect thing. She is who she is. And it's like you always say, I meet her with that energy, and, it's just very, you're not taking, you're just offering up support. And that's it.
And that's phenomenal. So now let's bring forward to being nominated for New York, and what that has done for you and your career.
Yeah. So, okay. So during the pandemic, everything was shut down. So as a performer, I was thinking, okay, for something like this to happen and my entire line of work shuts down, that is scary. And, you know, it made me open up my eyes to say, moving forward, I should really look into how I could be more flexible and dynamic in the field to be able to have other things going on for me should this ever happen again. And I realized I'm not a writer. I'm not a director. People had told me for years I should get into producing given my skill set and my background and my personality. I was extremely opposed to it because I wanted to just be a performer, just an actor, and that's it. But in that moment, I decided that, okay, yet again, let me pivot and try my hand at this. And at that time, I applied for a fellowship. You know, there was a producing fellowship that was in conjunction with Columbia University called the Front Row Productions Fellowship. And Front Row Productions was founded by Stephen Burden and Leah Jones Harvey, who were basically the forefront of Black lead producers on Broadway of the 2000s. You know, they did the first Black Cat in a Hot Tin Roof, Romeo and Juliet, etc. So I said, you know, what do I have to lose? Let me try and apply for this. There's no way they're going to pick me. I'm an actor. There's no way they're going to pick me. But I did the application process. You know, there were several essays, submitting your resume, submitting a project proposal, and then letters of recommendation. Back to Felicia, I asked Ms. Rashad to write a recommendation letter for me, and she so graciously did for that fellowship, which was wonderful. And lo and behold, I ended up getting the fellowship. And then I said, okay, so I had this year-long experience in the classroom to learn the nuts and bolts of producing theater, but I want the practical experience as well. So let me try to find a Broadway project to get on board with. Death of a Salesman was my first show. And then the piano lesson was the second show that I invested in personally. I didn't produce it, but I invested in it. And through the piano lesson, I was able to get an opportunity to produce New York, New York. And lo and behold, you know, like Kiana said, less than a year into my pursuit in this particular lane, the nomination came. And it's just been a whirlwind of excitement, new recognition. I've been reintroduced to the industry as a player, and you know, people are reaching out to me for collaborations and bringing projects to me, and it's just been, like Kiana said, extremely surreal. I mean, never in a million years would I have ever fathomed this is where I would be at this stage. I would be a liar if I ever said, oh, I knew I wanted to be a producer and I knew I wanted to go to Broadway. I always wanted to be on Broadway. So
yes, and New York brought you. I mean, because you did do Death of a Salesman, which was phenomenal. Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a few, but we're talking about your Emmy, your Tony nomination.
Yeah.
And the play itself was nominated for how many Tonys?
Nine Tonys. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, back there on my wall in the middle is a certificate. So it's crazy. It still feels like this is not really my life.
Well, I thank God that it is your life. And right now we're showing some pictures of the awards of recognition that you got for your first play for Mars Rainey. So what were those two awards that you received for Mars Rainey?
So basically at the Ovation Awards and the LA Drama Critics, it's funny, it's sitting right here. We won Best Ensemble. So basically, you know, the entire cast, that's commending everyone's collective performance. And as a recipient of the Ensemble Award, you each get an individual award for your performance. And both of those were both Ensemble Awards, which is wonderful.
So you have been getting awards from being on Broadway from day one. So that door opened and you received that your blessing. So what would you tell young Lamar?
Keep taking risks. You know, and I say that because I started the early part of my career going with the tried and true. You know, coming into college first on a pre-law track, then pre-business, doing an internship, doing another internship, just being very, very structured. And 10 years ago, I pivoted and it's been a zigzag ever since. But I would tell him, don't be afraid of that. Embrace that. Open it, trust yourself, bet on yourself, and know that you are enough and you are worthy, and that what's for you will find you along the journey, and just stay the path.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I know that when I saw that you were working with um, Death of a Salesman, and I was like, oh, I know that actor. What is his name again? Because you know, well, you don't know, but so I could remember all the older shows. So I just remembered him as Michael on Waiting to Exhale. And I was like, he was Michael on Waiting to Exhale. And Kiana's like, Michael, Waiting to Exhale. I was like, you need to watch it. You need to watch it. She's like, Mom, he has done so many other things since then. I was like, I know.
Wendell
So I
Cruz.
mean, I just thought that it was just so great that you know, with Wendell, Mr. Pierce, you just had a great rapport with him and all the other actors and actresses that you've worked with. So, what's in the pipeline? What's coming up new, Mr. Tony nominee?
Yeah, so it's funny, we just started rehearsals this past week. So we're bringing back The Wiz to
So,
Broadway in
yeah.
The Wiz we're in the spring, and it starts this fall with a tour around the country, 12 cities, and then it lands on Broadway in the spring. And it's the first, major revival of it since it came back in the 70s.
I thought that was exciting because after I saw you show that you're doing The Wiz, I saw that Deborah Cox, she's going to be one of the performers
Yeah.
in it. And I got extremely excited because I love her voice. I don't know if she'll be singing or what. She did speak
Yes.
what her role would be. And I'm like, ooh, so can you tell us, share, if you can, some of the other heavy hitters that will be in The Wiz?
Yeah, absolutely. So Deborah Cox will be Glinda. There's Wayne Brady, who will be playing the Wiz.
And
Melody
Wayne
Betts will be.
Brady's from St. Thomas.
Yes. I can't wait to get to him and make that connection. Yeah, Melody Betts will be Aunt Emma Eveline, and then we have Avery Wilson from The Voice. A lot of amazing talent, and it's just really exciting.
So what role, are you producing this one as well?
Yes, so I'm producing that as well, which is really exciting. And then I just recently took on another project. So there's a revival coming called Merrily We Roll Along that's coming this fall as well. And that's starring Daniel Radcliffe, who is Harry Potter. So that's coming as well. So I have 2 shows this season, which is exciting. And
This is just
let's
totally a
see.
sidebar. So when do you sleep? Because you're doing a fellowship. You did go back to school, correct?
Yep, that just finished in this past summer. That just finished in June.
Oh, so you're done.
Yeah.
Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. So you just finished that, and you were on your way doing Tony work when you were in school studying, and you do so many things in between. I hope you at least pause. I'm so proud of you, and I know that you're young and you're full of energy and drive, but don't forget to rest.
Yes. Have to rest.
And
But
beautiful
running through the
wife.
door while it's open.
Yes, exactly. When the door is open, we definitely take advantage of all the things. So you said this fall, what's the name of the play again? Tell our listening audience so they can come out to New York and come to Broadway and see those shows.
Yeah, so it's called Merrily We Roll Along, and it's a Stephen Sondheim musical. Stephen Sondheim has done Company. He has Sweeney Todd on Broadway right now, and just like a prolific, literally like at the forefront of musical theater. He's like really up there. So I'm really excited to have my notch. I did my classic play with Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller, and now here's my classic musical, Merrily Roll Along, alongside The Wiz.
Oh wow, I'm excited. When is The Wiz coming out? Is that coming this fall again?
So The Wiz is going to get to Broadway in the spring.
Okay, so that's going to be in January. Okay.
Yeah, so like March-ish. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to make it to one of these. And I would like all my passion pursuers to all come along. I want this whole family affair, this party to come along with Kiana and Jermaine and Lamar. I want all of us to have a conversation as to what we think we should do. What is it that we need to tell our listening audience? We need to tell the older ones, the younger ones, the importance of what it is based on what you've done, because you guys are young and youthful and vital. But and I am inspired. I am so inspired. I know that I saw you guys come up from the beginning, but you guys have been such an inspiration to me. And to know that I'm connected is like, oh, I'm so honored. I'm so honored to be a part of. So Jermaine, with his vision, his creativity, his hands-on work, activism, Kiana journalism, telling everybody's story and bringing it true to life. Lamar entertaining us, acting, producing, creating. You guys are just so phenomenal, and you guys are young. Oh, this is awesome. Awesome, awesome. Jermaine, I did not ask you. What would you like to tell the younger Jermaine from where you are now? What is it that you like to tell him?
Man, what I could say is, for me, for my own story, I could say is like you always have to just have a faith in the higher realm, and always surround yourself with individuals in the same plane or higher, and anybody that's below, try to assist and help them in the best way that you can. Because no matter where you come from in this world, when it comes to wisdom and knowledge, it proceed with the room of always learning, and that's why I always survive in this world. Because I may know a lot of things, or I may this or that, but I always have room to learn and expand my mind into different things and different sectors that we have in the world running today. So that's why, like, even back to the community restore, I try to put it back into the community and the kids, especially because in this time, the new generation, they, with the technology, they think everything is like, I don't call them microwave, because it's like they think it's just everything happen in 2 minutes, but it don't happen like that. Some of us don't survive, and for me, I consider myself a survivor in many ways. So I know the struggle when it comes to a lot of different things. That's why I could always go back and talk to the youth, them in any kind of form or fashion, but with the intellect and the inspiration and the initiative to lead them to know that no matter where you come from, like I said, no matter where your struggles you may go through, it could be mentally, it could be household wise, it could be the struggle coming up in the ghettos or in the suburbs or whatever. Once you put your mind to something and you have the resources to help you out with respect and dignity, you reach out far away.
And sometimes even if
So
you
that
don't
would
have
tell
the
myself to keep going, and up to this present day, I still push myself. I still push myself to the higher realm because there's no limit, and the only way is up. So no matter what you do in life, scorns, battles, tribulations, you know what I'm saying? You gotta keep going because you gotta have that faith. So that's why I would tell
yes,
myself over and over again up to this present day.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So
Yes,
Lamar,
yes.
what would you like to tell Jermaine? Jermaine, what would you like to tell Lamar, Kiana, and back and forth? Because you guys do so many different things. And one thing that you guys do, you guys bring what you do to the public. Everything that you guys do, you touch, it's tangible to the public. Lamar, people come to you to watch a play for entertainment, to rest, to release, to be happy, to feel good, and give off those happy endorphins. Kiana, we want to be informed. We want to know what's going on. We want to know what the weather is. Should we wear a jacket? Should we have an umbrella? What's going on? And Jermaine, we want to look good because the rides that you create and the signs. We want our business to shine and we want to bring it out. So everything that you do cause emotions, great emotions, happy endorphins. And I just think that the creativity that you guys bring forth, it's so great because you go from one extreme to the next. And at the end of the day, it's all about feeling good, at least to me. So let's talk. Let's do it all
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
Family
Well,
affair
to me, I gonna say it's just creativity because, like Lamar said, he was doing a law, he was doing accountant, law, numbers, and then he do the art. The same thing, like Kiana, she doing is almost art. All of it is like creativity in a sense. Me myself is like because he needs signs. Lamar will always need signs. Even if it's a background, even he probably have a budget just for signage, just for the props and the background and even his advertisement, what goes in the little thing where everybody that pass by, so signage is something that for me, I know I gonna always, have a room to, so even back home, I'm trying to do an LLC right back home that I could get contracts, to like different corporations because, like I said, signage, every business, every corporation, ABC News, NBC, all of them,
Signage
name it,
is
any
important.
business need signage. From 100 a building with 100 floors to a strip mall, what I mean, restaurant. They
Even
need
my little,
signage.
and even my show here, let's talk about you. I have my little signage, so you're right. It is important.
Yeah. So it all come together, and I just happy to see that the talents that we have, we just making the best of it with creativity at its sense too, arts, etc., and taking it to the next level. So we could always work together in many ways. You know.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
So Kiana, when you went to your first play, tell me what was that like?
Well, I hadn't seen Lamar in a really, really long time. I also haven't seen Jermaine in a really long time, like in person. So I was just so excited. We would talk on Instagram every once in a while, but I was just like so excited. I was like, okay, I'm able to do this thing. I've always seen that he's been, doing acting and stuff like that. And now I can see because I wasn't in California for Ma Rainey's. So it's like I'm close enough where I can actually see something that he's been part of and also see my cousin who I haven't seen in like 13-ish years. So it was sort of like a double exciting thing for me. And I was just like, I'm just so proud. I was just so excited to be a part of that and to see that and to meet Zaire, and it was just great. And I got to meet Wendell Pierce at the end, which was really exciting.
Am
So I still call him Michael.
Please stop calling that man that. So it was just I was just excited to go for a lot of different reasons, and I'm glad that I was able to. And then a couple months later, I was able to see New York, a couple months ago actually. And that was just, it was so different than Ma Rainey's. I mean, Ma Rainey's, I'm getting confused now. It was so different than Death of a Salesman because it was a musical. Death of a Salesman is a lot more serious, a little bit tragic, but still a beautiful show. I think it was fantastic. But I don't want to say I have a history, but I know a little bit more about musicals, I would say. So it was really, really fun to see the New York one and the difference between the two, and to be like, I am watching something that my family, my flesh and blood, was able to be a part of. So it was really, really cool. And
it's okay to say
Jermaine,
that you're part of theater. It's okay to say you grew up in the theater, Kiana. It's okay.
Don't tell anybody.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. What do you mean? It's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that will make you who you is today. That made you who you are today. You know what I'm saying? Don't be. Kamala, I would say Kamala did a thing, so you gotta be proud of that. You gotta be super proud of that. And for me, I'm proud to see as my two younger, cousins out here doing major things, because it keep the whole perspective and the family afloat to know that we out there. Most of us, like I said, most of us are just survivors, and some of us, make it out in a different kind of way and then try to make the best out of it. So that's how we gotta do, and just never forget where I come from. That's all I could say. But just love to see how I explain. And Lamar, I don't know, I root to him from day one. You know what I'm saying? I always push this man, and I'm always happy to see him do his thing. You know what I'm saying? Live, and that's forevermore. So with that being said, I have to come to New York. I always travel a lot too, but I have to come to New York. And I have to support one of them shows. Probably in March. March is my birthday, So yeah, I heard you mention you have a show, The Wiz, coming up in March. So probably I'll make that flex and come up there, and come support you and see where you're working at, and come take some pictures and things. You know what I'm saying? So, I just happy to see. I just happy to see as my younger cousins, them two get. I would have never thought I would have been like sitting and watching the Tony Awards, like, damn, this shit like long, like this thing long, and then we get to see like what, it's just to show the support, and never thinking that my own cousin will be in these Tony Awards and then hearing the Emmy from Kiana, and and then just for hearing Kiana's story too was very impressive to hear, like how she, how she went in her environment and she did Boston and the monologues, and it's I never really known her story like that, so it was very impressive to hear the hard work, and not only that, her mentor, where she very like coordinative with everybody she work with, and she have keep an open mind, because that's how we is, from what we is and how we family we is, and that what anywhere in the world we get, we gonna blend in with anybody, because we don't watch film, we don't watch color, what I mean, all these things, like our family or where we come from, anywhere we go, we blend in to anything, and then we have a wisdom and a moral to overlook a lot of things that most people nowadays will look at, but we done ahead, so that's why we gonna blend in from the Caribbean, where we from, we come to the mainland, we make it happen, so I'm happy for you, man. Happy for all of us.
Yes, I'm happy for you too. Go ahead, Kiana. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying, and I could see Jamaica, because I follow Jeremiah. I almost call him Jerry. On like Instagram, we follow each other, and like he's obsessed with cars, and I'm like, where did he get this from? So when you were talking about wrapping the cars and stuff, I was like, okay, that makes sense. I was able to get the connection, because I think like even a couple of days ago, I was like, this boy is obsessed.
Yeah, and I have to.
I was like, he got it honestly, and it's just really cool to see, the apple don't fall too far from the tree.
Odds. It gotta be the DNA, it gotta be the genes, you gotta be the genes.
I know.
Yeah, it gotta be the genes. Kamala, hey, listen, Kamala teach me how to do cursive. Kamala always you have me drawing out. Hey, Kamala was the one who used to always have. Kamala teach me how to typewriter. The clack, 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 clack. Kamala, that's what I do. Since school. Yeah, man. So
We picking up everybody, Jermaine.
Yeah, so
Lamar,
no, I'm just saying, collectively, I'm happy that, all of us could be in this thing here as individuals, and, wherever may be in our life, and take our creativity to the next level. That's all I could, mostly I could say. And all the way up, all the way up to the sky, all the way up.
The universe is our playground. So Lamar, what is the nugget that you want to share? Because this show, it was my closeout show, so I know it's going to be a little longer, which is fine, because I think we had great energy and a lot of information to share. But I want you to share that one nugget that you want our listening audience to take away for pursuing their passion. And
I just want everyone to be encouraged and inspired, because here you have 4 family members, all with roots deep-seated in the islands, who are now in the States taking over and doing amazing things. And I think that it's important for you to know that it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter where you're based. It just matters where you're going. And as long as you believe in yourself and that you have that small little sense of hope, that mustard seed faith, it doesn't matter your circumstances. You just have to trust God, trust yourself, and trust your gifts. And just know that it's going to be straight ahead. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. You'll get to your destination. Just stay the course.
Yes.
Jermaine?
Well, I could just continue and just say, like I said, Lamar, they motivate me and to step my game up in many ways. Like I say, different level in many things in this world that we try to accomplish as individuals, personally and in our career-wise, because like for me, I think, I'm about to go St. Thomas and try to do some bigger things too, to kind of like, because, like I've been in State a minute now, but back home, I see a lot of different opportunities, especially I spend, a good much of time home for the past month or two. And, I try to go down, not try, like they say, you got to go there and keep going straight. I'm going to do it, and go down there and, especially with the academics and personally, my business, the engineering, I'm trying to like expand it down in the Virgin Islands heavy, because they don't have too many people down there that really into the car wrap and signages, like, oh, I have the passion for it, Someone ends up down there making the money because they get a capital, so they have the equipment, but they don't really have the people with the skill now. Because like I went down there, the lady have two boats just parked up in front of her shop, and she said she don't have nobody to wrap them. I'm like, I'm like, okay. So now that I come in now, on one boat, I could wrap 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 for that one boat, And so it's
I
like,
know.
these are the
So
opportunities.
what is the one sentence takeaway that you want us to know? One sentence that you
Have
want to tell
faith, my
us.
son. Have faith and have passion, because when you do something like, like I see Lama and see, and they take that shit because it was not about the salary or the name or the entitlement that you want. Is when you do something, you have a passion for it, it almost come like so easy one. And then you always want to know the next thing, because this thing you got should be on it. But you have the passion, you feel like somebody forcing you. You almost like you're doing it for free and getting paid. So it's like that's how I look at when I doing car wraps or when I doing my design. Every day I was on the computer doing designs, and it's like because I like to see, especially when I go back to it, I'd be like, he tweak it again, and then like, I tweak it again, because you want to be perfected at what you love to do, and not doing something because it's a salary or entitlement or this kind of thing. No, because you're gonna be
And as
forcing
you say,
yourself.
when you do something that you love, you never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basic,
So,
yeah.
Kiana, what's your takeaway?
I think from when you're from a small place where everybody knows everybody, you have a desire to please everyone, and to make everyone proud of you, because you're going to the States, you're going to do big things, and I think that that's important, and a great motivator to an extent. But I think what's even more important, at least for me, is to make sure that what you are doing, that you are proud of yourself for what you're doing. Other people's validation is great, but if you are not proud of what you're doing, if you do not enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't matter if what other people think of that thing. It's you who's going to have to do it. So do something that you're proud of, do work that you're proud of. And sometimes passions change. I wanted to be an astronomer, now I'm a journalist, and 5-10 years from now I may get a new passion, and I think that
Yeah.
that's fine. And I think that people need to understand that. And also, you can have more than one passion at a time. It's just learning how to balance that. And at the end of the day, doing something that makes you feel proud. Um,
Yes.
Amen.
And I appreciate that, because I know initially when you were nominated, you didn't want, you just wanted to keep it
yeah,
down because you didn't want the pressure of the outside voices
yeah,
or any expectations. But I'm
But
glad to see that you're at another point that it's not about pleasing anyone, it's about pleasing yourself. Yes, Jermaine.
but at one thing, Sienna, I'm gonna tell you, right, Kiana, right, you need to use that for a young woman, probably in a field that maybe dominated by, how that goes. The
mm,
man could inspire a lot of young upcoming women, young ladies, even in the Virgin Islands, because some of them is thinking about being up. They watch news every day, they watch CNN, they watch TV every day, and they would never have an idea what goes behind this thing until you now come and say, hey, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And they'd be like, damn. And then they always ask how much you get paid. But when you open the eyes, because like I said, they watching TV. Like people watch signs every day. They don't know if you even never have a signage, you could never find what you're looking for. If you don't have a monument, you understand? So they don't know what goes. They don't know it's a zoning, structural, what I mean? Waiting 6 months. They don't know what goes behind of it. But you as a young lady, you could inspire a lot of these new young ladies to be producers on television, my girl. So it's not a boast and bragging thing, but as a young woman and the level that you reach and your story, man, that's faith that you could put in a lot of other young women out there, especially in the islands. Man, you just island, we want to be island, but a lot of young women all over the world, name it US, St. Thomas more important because we want to see. But yeah, man, as young women, that story is you could make your own broadcast about your own story.
Well,
And you inspire the whole of Boston. She inspires the whole of these young ladies in Boston. All them want to come Boston for job. Now they want to come ABC for job when she finished with them. I'm serious.
oh, goodness.
Jermaine, thank you for your insight and your foresight. I'm beyond words. I am so proud of each one of you. Not just because of what you're doing right now, but the fact that you always wanted to do. It was just always something that you always went and followed your own beat. And the inside joke for Lamar, Kiana, and I was jumping off the cliff. I talked about the story that Kiana and I went to Costa Rica. She was doing a study infusion, a Spanish infusion program for 3 weeks. And I can't swim, neither can she. And I said, don't you dare jump off that cliff, because it was a 20-foot cliff. And I'm having a conversation with another parent. And you know the cartoon where you just see feet, but nothing under the feet? The feet are just going like this. And then nothing.
She jumped down?
And I was like, what the what? Did she just jump off that cliff?
She jumped. We found it.
And I was like, please let that head pop up. And her head popped up. And I was like, you know what? I was afraid. And she was so excited to be in a different place and do different things. And everyone was jumping off the cliff. I didn't know if they could swim or not, but I know we couldn't swim. And she decided, I want to do this. I can do this. I am protected. I will do this. And she jumped off that cliff. And that has been my mantra for everything. It doesn't matter who's afraid around you. Don't let somebody else's fear impact you on what you want to do. Jump off the cliff. She jumped off and I jumped off behind her. And yes, I was afraid because, you know, I'm heavy busted. So my life jacket went up and I had to pull it down and then I shoot up the water. But the point is, no matter what is going on around you, don't let someone's fear impact where it is that you need to be. Do it afraid if you have to, but jump off the cliff. And I'm so glad that each one of you did that. Each one of you did that in your own different career paths. And I want you to continue to do that because people are watching. And it's not because they are watching, but you're inspiring and you just don't know who you're inspiring. At that age, Kiana was what, 11 or 12?
And no, I was not that young. I was in high school. I was like 14, 15.
14. Okay, she was 14 or 15. And
time flies. Give her a break. Time flies.
Exactly. Time flies. And she inspired me from then. So every talk or motivational speech that I'm doing, I always say, do it afraid. Jump off the cliff. Because I mean that. Jump off the cliff. I am so glad to have each and every one of you here. This is my longest show. Thank you so much for being who you are. Continue to be who you are. Don't change. Just be the better version of you and keep telling your older version of you what it is based on where you are today. Listening audience, thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for holding on as we brought forth pursuing and pushing forward to your passion. I want you all to continuously stay blessed on purpose, and we will see you in season 5, which is around the corner. Thank you so much. Stay blessed on purpose.
Good night.